So now we have to see, how does determination come into this lifeline? When I was thinking about this class and this topic, this analogy of a person in an ocean came to my mind. If we think of the world of our experiences as if it were this vast ocean, and if we think of ourselves as like shipwrecked passengers whose ship has gone down and we're floating in this ocean, there's nothing we can do on our own to get out. We could be the best swimmers in the world. We can't do anything. We're in an ocean. The only hope we have is that someone comes and throws us a lifeline. So I was thinking about this. The lifeline has been thrown to us. And now where does determination come in? I was thinking about how once you grab onto that rope, and perhaps some of you have had an experience where you've tried to climb a mountain, or how many skiers are here? You ski? Now, nowadays, when I learned to ski, I grew up in Rochester, New York, where you're going to, right? And I don't know if it still exists, but when we used to go to a real small little place, that all they had, and the skiers here know what I'm talking about when I talk about the ropeway, right? Nowadays you go to a fancy ski place and they put you on a chair or then a gondola or so on. But in these small places there was a rope, and the rope would just keep going. It was continuously going, and you had to grab onto that rope. You have to get yourself in the right position and grab on, and then let it take you off, and then let go at the right time. Now, that took a little determination. You had to determine, I'm going to hold on to this rope. If you thought, well, I don't need to be so determined here. The rope is going. I'll just let go. Then you know what happens when you let go of that rope. You're on skis, right? Those skis start to turn and your ankles can break and everything. So you have to hold on. So this is the kind of determination that we have to call upon when we begin to enter a spiritual path. The spiritual path, the path of Bhakti Yoga, the practices of Bhakti Yoga are simple. They're not difficult. Like that rope, it's just, it's a simple thing. We have many different practices. Of course, we're practicing them here. We began with the core practice of Bhakti Yoga, which is the singing and the chanting of the mantra composed of Krishna's names. We have other practices. We have other rules and principles to follow. Yama and niyama, or things that we must do, things we must avoid doing. So we have all these simple things. They're not very complicated in Bhakti Yoga. There's not much that's really a complicated thing to do. There are other yoga systems which can be very complicated, can require quite a lot of determination, you could say. Just practicing yoga asanas. How many here do yoga asanas regularly? More than just... Not a lot of yogis here. Okay, I'm good. I would feel embarrassed if I were the only one. I don't do a lot of yoga. There's one pose I try to do very often, every day. It's called I don't know. There must be a pose for bowing down. Anyway, so I bow down and the flat one too. I do that, but a lot of jumping up and down. That's anyway. I don't. But serious yogis, really serious yogis, they spend hours and hours getting it just right. And then they go further to controlling their breathing. And there are people who practice complicated yoga systems by which they can do amazing things with their bodies and their minds, even to the point of what are called mystic perfections. And this is just incredible what they can do. Incredible by entering in, finding the pathways of the subtle energies in the world, which we hardly know anything about. They're not, when we say subtle, it means we can't detect them by gross instruments. Subtle, Srila Prabhupada uses this term, subtle energies. Subtle meaning they're not detectable. You can have microscopes and telescopes and radio electron instruments and all kinds of things. You cannot see these things, but they exist. They're there. Their mind, their intelligence, their ego, their various subtle energies. And the yogis are able to discover the connectivities of these energies and manipulate them to the point where they can do amazing things. There was a story I heard the other day about a yogi. I don't know when this was, maybe. Anyway, he was a very interesting yogi. He was actually a devotee of Krishna, and he loved to sing the holy names of Krishna. But he also didn't like to wear clothes. He doesn't have any sense of wearing clothes. But his favorite place to sing was in the middle of the court, the marketplace. He found that to be he just wanted to sing for everybody. But he had no clothes, and he really didn't want to have any clothes, and he didn't feel like, clothing was just not for him. Now, this was British time. So the British had a lot of rules about going naked. They, that was not what you do in the marketplace. So they would arrest him. And they'd put him in the jail. And they come the next day and he's gone. And he's back in the marketplace. And it's told that he had the city of being able to basically make himself tiny and walk out and then become big again. Something like that. So they're very complicated. There are various systems of yoga which are very complicated. The system of jnana yoga can be very complex, so much that you have to read and memorize and understand and debate and logically conclude, and the work, the rituals that you have to perform can be very complex. Bhakti yoga is very simple. You sing, you eat, you dance, you talk, you hear about Krishna, and you serve. You gauge yourself in service. In whatever you can do. That's also simple, because it's not that practically anything that you have some talent for, you can use that to serve Krishna. So it's simple, but it requires some determination. So what is the determination that we need in our practice of bhakti? So that I wanted to discuss. Most of you here are practitioners. you're practicing bhakti yoga. So in your practice, how do you see determination? What are some things that you find that you need to be determined about? Or that you are determined about? Or that maybe you feel that you are not so determined about? What do you think? Who wants to go in?
Can you repeat what's the fact?
What determination? How do you see in your practice of bhakti? Where do you see the need for determination?
Inspiration.
Inspiration, okay. Now that's you need inspiration to be determined. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So you're seeing there's a connection between how determined you are and how inspired you are.
Sometimes you don't have.
And so if you're not inspired, then you're not determined.
At least in my case, if I don't find inspiration, then I don't find that determination to pursue that. But if I feel inspired, I feel really determined to.
Okay, we'll revisit that. How many? Some other? Yes. Determination for early rising. Okay, so that we're talking now about a practice, a something that. And why do you want to wake up early in the morning?
Chanting before you go to work. Me personally, I do chanting. I worship. I prepare. I do some worshiping of my deities. So all that has to happen before I go to work. So I have to get up early to be able to do it. So that's required.
So it's not the getting up early, it's the sadhana that you want to do that requires you to get up early. Okay. So we'll get to that also. Some other examples of determination in the practice of bhakti. Anyone else like to? Yes.
Do not be lazy.
Huh?
Do not be lazy.
To not be lazy, okay, all right.
To do service.
Just to be determined to be determined. Okay. Yes.
Letting go of the results.
Letting go of the results.
Because my mind is very focused on the result.
Yes.
When I do something, I want the result. But it's not possible.
Yeah, so having the determination to put aside the desire for result. So, in other words, to move your determination from passion to goodness.
Yes.
Yes, Atma.
When you set out to do something, then knowing in advance before you start that sometimes it will feel better than other times. Sometimes things will go better than other times. Sometimes the results will be better than other times. But if you have the mindset that before you start, you're going to continue through completion, and if you have to do it another time subsequently, if that's part of your plan, that I do it this time, and then so many days later I do it this time, and you just do it, then this is the kind of determination that I strive to have.
The determination to keep, for steadiness, to keep going, to do it again and again and then again, regardless of what the result comes.
Yeah, and regardless of the obstacles.
The obstacles.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I find where my determination, the biggest issue I have with determination, that's to hear the sound of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra when I'm chanting it. I went to a japa retreat. A japa retreat is a retreat, a time that's facilitated and organized by the retreat facilitator, where the group simply focuses on their chanting. And the facilitator in this case was a very dear devotee, senior member of our society, and very special person named Burijan. And he taught us two things. So first he taught us that in our mantra meditation, in our japa, he taught us you should approach it with one mantra at a time. He said, your goal is you want to hear. At one point, Srila Prabhupada was asked, how do I meditate with this mantra meditation? What do I do here? And the response, in a few places, Srila Prabhupada would give the response that just try to hear, because the person was asking, should I think of a picture? Should I something that what I should? No, he said, just try to hear yourself chant sincerely. Just very simple. Just hear yourself chanting sincerely. So there's three things here. You're hearing, you're chanting, but the chanting has a certain quality. The chanting is coming from your heart. Okay. There's more that we can talk about that. So he taught us like this. So when you approach your japa, then first of all, don't think about, I'm going to hear, 16 rounds of japa, and for the next 2 hours I'm going to hear. Or don't think just think, I'm going to hear this one mantra. And he told us, make the determination to hear one mantra. And after doing that, make the determination to hear the next one. And like that, he was encouraging us to invoke determination one step at a time. Sometimes we think that it's difficult to be determined, like you were describing again and again. I don't know if any of you are in recovery of any, addictions or anything like that. But if you have been in recovery, you've probably heard the term one day at a time. Determination for us can also be like that. If we consider the complete trajectory of our spiritual life, how far we have to go to become truly free of this conditioning that we've been speaking about, that impinges, that jumps in and that we jump onto. I was talking about japa. And what happens with me, at least, is that my determination to hear and to chant gets broken by the train of thought that breaks into my meditation, and I jump on because I'm conditioned to respond. What comes into the brain, I'm conditioned. We're all conditioned to respond to what comes in. And often, this is something we were talking about earlier, not here, but we're talking about, often there's some of these thoughts that come in don't help us at all. We were listening to a psychiatrist the other day, Dr. Aman. He was talking with Jay Shetty. Anyway, it was very interesting. He said, you don't have to believe every stupid thing that comes in your mind. You don't have to believe it all. But what to speak of, latch on and start thinking about it and so on. And not that they're all stupid things. No, I mean, often things that come into our brains are very useful. But it's not what we need right now, and we need to have the determination to set it aside. So that's my experience. One of my experiences with determination is that how difficult I find it to have the determination to simply sit down and chant the Hare Krishna mantra with attention. Such a simple thing, but requiring a level of determination that I don't yet have. So every one of us has described difficulties. You described a difficulty, being determined to get up early, being determined to put aside the desire for the fruits, being determined to see through one day at a time, every keep going. So we all have difficulty with determination. We're not, well, maybe some of you are already so determined, like those yogis that with determination can stand on one foot for 10 years or something like that. But if you're like me, then we struggle. We struggle. So what do? It's interesting, I was reading up on this, Srila Prabhupada, talking about determination. And at certain points he was like, I was finding it very interesting because sometimes he was talking to people. He said, well, if you're not determined, if you don't have this kind of determination, then maybe you should wait and do something else. Just telling people like that. If you're not determined, if we have a process. It involves getting up early, and it involves giving up giving up eating meat. It involves giving up some stuff. And if you're not determined to do it, okay, yes, you might lapse. So, yes, you may have to take it one day at a time, but you have to at least start. You have to have the commitment and try to do it at least, one day at a time. Be committed, do it. If you lapse, if you fall down from your determination, then pick yourself up. Like the child learning to ride the bike, right? I mean, how many here have had children that they've taught to ride a bike? You all remember? How many here have remembered them? I mean, it's a long time since I learned to ride a bike, but I kind of do remember it. I think it's one of those things that kind of sticks in your mind because it's a traumatic experience in some ways. You're trying to ride and you're falling over and falling over and bruising the shins and everything's going on like, And it's so easy to say, oh, I can't do this. I can't do this. I give up. So, but little determination, and we learn. And now, then it becomes natural, right? So the determination to keep going, that's the determination we need to begin. We need at least that determination. I'm going to keep going with this. It means that we have seen a goal. We have in our sights. We know where we're headed. We know we're going somewhere. And we're determined to get there. Because we know that there's no other place to go. There really isn't. What else is there? There's the grave, or the ashes, or the stool of vultures. If you happen to live in Mumbai, there's a big place where one particular community, it's not very many communities that do this, but when people die in this community, they take their body and they have this huge tower, and they take all the bodies and they throw them in this tower, and they all sit down in the bottom, and there's a huge swarm of vultures who come down and eat it, and then, the bodies get transformed into vulture poop, and that's it. So wherever it ends up, that's what's going to happen to this body. And okay, our consciousness, where we survive, even our minds keep, go with us to another body, which will again die, and to another body, which will again die, and again 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 and again. We can just keep going, or we can get out. There's really only two options. We can stay in this material world, or we can get out. We can stay in this material world and enjoy sometimes and then, suffer other times. Or we can get out and we can have eternal life. That's the promise that Krishna gives us in the Gita. It says you can get out. You can break free if you grab hold with determination. If you let go, well, you'll fall back in. You just have to grab hold. And it's not like the rope, I think it was Swain at the place. Is Swain still around?
I was a kid too.
Yeah.
The rope, I hated it.
Because it kept going, right? Never slowed down. Fortunately, Krishna's rope that he throws us a rope. It's a grab on, take hold. But he doesn't yank us. He doesn't. He's sensitive. He's sensitive. If we're having difficulty, we're going too fast, okay, slow down a bit. It's all right. But don't let go. That's the determination. Don't let go. Just keep hold of it. And take one day at a time. And what happens? Krishna says here, we'll reach this determination. That determination which is unbreakable, which is sustained with steadfastness by yoga practice. So by the practice of this yoga, by the practice of this one day at a time, we call it sadhana bhakti. There's two kinds of bhakti. We call sadhana bhakti and raganuga bhakti. Or actually, sadhana bhakti contains two types, Vaidhi bhakti and raganuga bhakti. Both are sadhana bhakti. But in the beginning, the sadhana is Vaidhi. It means we're given some practices, we're given some things to do, we're given some ropes to hold on to. And we have to hold on. It's not natural. We have to put some effort into it. But as we do this, bhakti works on us. The practices work on us. They clean, they break the bonds, they start to dissolve these ropes, break them apart. They cleanse our hearts. And what starts to come out is a natural, spontaneous attraction. And then there's no need for being determined because you can't help it. It's like if you tell a lover who is attracted to another person that, well, you have to be determined to love that person. Why do I have to? I love the person. I don't need any, it's just automatic, it's just natural. When we begin to relate with some person, we may have to work on that relationship and build that affection and that love. But when it's manifested, it's there naturally. Nothing can break it. So similarly, the determination that we bring with us into our spiritual practices brings to us the grace of Krishna and of Bhakti Devi to awaken our natural connection, which is so solid. It requires no more effort on our part. It just is there. So that's what we can look forward to. It's coming. And it will come gradually. It will not come all at once. It will come bit by bit by bit. That's the nature of this practice, that we have a little determination today to enter into the practice. And then by keeping going, holding on, one day at a time, one mantra at a time, we go forward and our determination becomes stronger. When Srila Prabhupada was asked, well, how do I become determined? He said, just be determined to be determined. It begins with a little determination, and then it grows into what Krishna says here, unbreakable. Nothing can put you apart, take you away from it. There's no other question. So, now it is time. And I did a little questioning anyway. But maybe there's some questions on what we discussed, but we're out of time. What is your... I didn't... it's 7:30. 7:32.
Well, maybe, if you...
5 minutes.
Yeah.
5 minutes. If I said something that just doesn't make any sense, which is, or that then please let me try to clarify it. Or if you have any other practical question that you'd like to ask or comment. Otherwise, good. Maybe I did make some sense. It's a deep topic, but also very simple. So, and I believe our next program, we're going to do some more kirtan, more chanting, and then we're going to enjoy some prasadam. Yes, Max.
As you describe japa meditation process, to comparing with other types of yoga, like hatha yoga, you said, karma yoga, jnana yoga.
Yes.
Don't you think that actually sometimes it's more difficult to chant holy names than do yoga asanas? Actually.
Well, the process of chanting is not more difficult. The process of controlling the mind is more difficult than the process of controlling your physical body. I mean, controlling the physical body, keeping it in a certain space, moving the legs in a certain way, that effort is easier for some people at least, depending on their bodies. For some people, it's pretty hard. But for everyone, the mind is the most difficult thing to control. So, if the goal, though, is to control the mind, and the goal of yoga, in every case, is to control the mind, then the easiest way to do that is through bhakti yoga. Hatha yoga, without any goal of controlling the mind is just, it's just exercise. It's good. I mean, it's good for the body, but it's not going to help you spiritually. All the yoga processes are all aimed at controlling the mind and bringing the mind under control in order to focus the consciousness in the Supreme. So, Ashtanga Yoga, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, these all are meant for the same purpose as Bhakti Yoga, but they use a different method, which is more complicated and more difficult than the Bhakti Yoga path. So, it's not, if you compare the two things in terms of their ease in controlling your mind, then you'll see that there's, there is some benefit. I mean, in mind control to the asanas. The asanas are meant to help you calm the mind and give you some control. So I find the best thing is to try to combine a little bit of these. You have, you use some sitting particularly. Main thing is to straighten the back and sit properly. Some breathing. All of these things can be used to help you in your meditation on the Maha Mantra. So, yeah. Hare Krishna.
So for Kirtan, would you like to lead the Kirtan?
I could, if you want.
Sure, we love it.
Okay. So we're going to sing some more.